Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Dawn Treader, 10th Man, Jessica, The Plain Truth, Physics Warrior, Paul, Mind Warp, Flatzoid, Chocolate Sane, Arwin, and 10th Man. Very good to have you all.
Hello, what hope?
Good morning.
Good to be here.
I feel bad now that I sent it to Narnia.
Feel bad because of Narnia? Don't worry, space is fake, but you'll get over it. Any signs of Earth curvature?
None whatsoever.
Not on
Can we
us.
say that absence of curvature?
I'm gonna pretend he said something like, "You can pretend that there is."
There's no curvature of the claimed required radius.
But there's just no curvature. Topology,
You're
not curve.
You're asking the question because we haven't seen it.
Well, yeah, I've not seen Earth curve. It's in plenty of demonstrations of perspective.
Curve that you just can never see it.
Because it's not there. Because we live on a flat plane.
Well, because it's much bigger and not the size of the supposed Earth size that they say now.
Nah, that's bollocks. We went through that on the last show.
Mick West says you could see it at 45,000 feet. What's
Sure
going on, guys?
Wait, sure he does.
Could I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
You
Okay.
should get in touch with Neil deGrasse.
Clearly not.
Uh,
Go ahead, Jess.
no, I'm just saying, like, we have to take into account that we, like, literally that we do have senses, and it doesn't matter how big something is. If we're standing on a curved surface and we're traveling along that curved surface, it doesn't matter how large that curved surface is, that curve will be detectable by our senses. We never detect it. That's a huge problem. It's never taken into account. In building infrastructures, we have all these roads and railroads. Like if there's hump on the land, okay, you have hump on the land that the road is building over. But an entire curving surface that we're supposed to be standing on is never taken into account in any of these in any of these building infrastructures, and we never experience that curve. So it doesn't matter the size of that ball. It's like, I'm just saying, like, that's how I feel about it.
I get that. But what if our sensors simply aren't long enough to properly be able to read that?
Even if we end up even if we end up traveling so far that we end up on the side and under that ball.
Yeah, but
I'm pretty sure we'd be able to.
How long does it take to travel the known realm in a straight line, you know? That's a long time, unless you have like a jet plane. So, okay, then think of freaking supposed Jupiter, which is idiotically large compared to the Earth. Okay, those same
What they
sensors
say.
and those travel times would then be so insanely long. How could you tell? But
Marvin, you're in the wrong terra firma. You need to be on Jupiter.
well, maybe we are on Jupiter.
No, we're not on Jupiter. Because they've
When
given
I
us.
first got into this,
Just
I-
don't
Narnia
let him
time,
do
come
this. He's already disclosed. He's already disclaimed. He's just being a dick.
No, I'm not being a
Yeah,
dick.
you are. You said you just bored and you're feeling argumentative and playing devil. You disclosed all of this right at the start. You know you have.
Just
No,
to get clear what I'm doing. I am speculating here.
I want to take my time going
Ugh.
home.
Oh, you want time when you go home?
No.
Yeah, I
wanna
don't.
take
I
my
don't
time
think
when I go
that's.
home.
I think
I'm gonna go
Chocolate's
home.
muttering to his to his colleagues on.
Look, you can't trust all your sensory data all the time. You look at that straw in the glass, it looks bent, but we know it's not bent.
Yes, but I'm like in reference to like our position, like we're able to sense when we are, and our body is in a different position than it was before. We're able to pick up on that sense. Versus us seeing something, it's like it's slightly different. Our eyes can kind of like be deceived to a certain extent. But like if you understand how our eyes work, then we
No,
can
no, what
understand
I'm
the
saying,
effects that we. Yeah.
I'm trying to validate your actual statement by that. So they've
Oh,
given
mine.
us
Okay.
this, they have given us already, like Nathan said, the circumference of the Earth. Arwen is saying, well, maybe it's not that, maybe it's the circumference of Jupiter, Narnia. Okay. And then you said, yeah, but our senses would tell us.
My
Okay.
R is greater than yours.
That's right. Your R is greater than mine. That's for sure. But
Wait, no,
R,
hold on. He doesn't have an R. Where are you getting R from, Arwen?
R win.
Yeah, where are you getting
Yeah,
R
my
for
R
your
Lord.
Jupiter? Where are you getting R from for your Jupiter Earth? Where are you getting that R from?
I'm presupposing it.
Yeah, but no, but where are you deriving it
I have
from?
to confirm it
At least
first.
they're deriving it from the path of the sun, right? They've got something. What have you got? Nothing. Just your musings, right?
Well, my sense of
his name.
exploration and the imagination that one day I might travel like a lifetime, hundreds of years over the radius of Jupiter, and then find myself way back on the other side of our realm.
Oh God, what a
Well,
load
come
of
back
bollocks!
to Earth because I want to finish my
I've got to put a
thought.
stop to this. Sorry, 10th man. I've got to just put a stop.
Sure,
to
it
this.
doesn't have to do with Aristarchus.
This is nonsense. Any evidence of
I will
axial?
I will make a full lifetime report.
I'm going to bring this
I swear.
back on track. You're determined to hijack this show, and I can tell, Arwen. Right. Any evidence of axial rotation of the claimed spherical Earth-based variety, not of the Jupiter-based?
Well, there's no rotation on the Jupiter variety.
I don't want to hear about it. All right, I'm sick of
Jupiter
it.
is definitely stationary.
I'm not going to fight Arwen nonsense and the mainstream heliocentric nonsense on the same show. That's just not reasonable.
Let's just say no.
No.
Nope.
Well, no. I was gonna say well, but no.
What about scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
No
Scientific
evidence
evidence
whatsoever.
thereof.
Scientific, considering that it's conceptual, no.
Nine.
The
No proof.
aberration, the aberration.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
Absolutely not.
That's technically impossible, Nathan.
Agreed. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Be nice, but no.
Only in the Tootsie Roll Pop.
I don't think Jupiter would have one either.
Oh my goodness.
No,
What
that's
about
what I
this-
don't understand. But I'm not going to get into that. I
No.
really don't get that. The diagram they have of Jupiter is so stupid. It's a ball of gas. Why is there a? I just don't get that.
Well, it's because it looks like it kind of gas.
Next,
They have
next
to explain
question.
the motion of all that twirly thing. Like,
No,
You
no,
mean that
how to do
painting?
that.
No, I'm into
You mean
this.
that?
I'm into this. So what you're saying is, why would it be claimed that not only Earth violates the second law of thermodynamics, but a different light in the sky is also a glaring violation of the second law of thermodynamics? I don't know why that would be in their narrative, Jessica. It's nonsense. You can't have a
It
ball
really
of gas
is.
in a vacuum. You're right. But that's what they believe. It's nonsense. I agree.
It's literally
gravity.
part of the narrative. They got gas giants. Like, it's so
Yeah.
in your face ridiculous. It's not. It's crazy.
It doesn't even fit into the presupposition. Like, it doesn't even fit into the presupposition about the way. Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but
Well, they claim
Jupiter
that
being
all-
a larger body and being heavier, like they claim to have weighed Jupiter and everything like that. I'm entertaining their idea for a minute,
well,
like
how
just
they
like
do
go
it?
into the.
How
I'm
The
sorry,
only
go ahead.
way you
They
could
do it by the-
entertain their idea is to entertain gravity, which is not a force. So let's move on to the next question.
What they do with the claim is basically compacting all that gas, presupposing there's a lot of pressure inside, potentially making it those gases into liquids there because of the pressure, and all that body together would emanate enough gravity to all keep it that way.
What's
That's how they
causing the
get that way.
pressure?
So then what
It's
came first, the
ridiculous, but
gravity or the
that's the
gas?
story. It did just how look. I'm really into that kind of science fiction. Okay,
I
so
know,
I know
right?
it.
I get it.
Any
Yeah,
evidence?
Started
it's
Narnia
fun to
channel.
talk about how stupid it is, though. It really is. It's fun.
Start a Narnia channel for a halfway house for the Globers before they come to flat Earth.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. This is one
Flat Earth
one of the reasons why sometimes I'm a little bit sarcastic about it. You know, because I like to point out that the silliness of the heliocentric model. But you know, I don't
Right,
go
'cause they
into the
think-
Narnia that Arwen likes to go into, which is cool. It has its moments, but yeah.
No, it's like they claim that it makes so much sense, and like, and it's like, and then even if when you hear them explain it, it's like you sound, they sound like they're talking about a fantasy land, like
Can I-
Harry Potter or
But it
something.
induces a dream and not a train of thought. They're just like, oh, that makes so much sense. This and that. No, it's like, oh, it makes
It's
so
so
much
cool.
sense. Oh, like they get high.
Narnia.
Yes.
Narnia. Hey, Narnia. Let me give you an example. Let's use math. 5 and 5 is what, Arwen?
What?
5 and 5 or 5 plus
5 plus 5 is what, Arwen?
That depends on your
Oh, God.
numerological
Oh
system.
God,
See?
it's just one of
There you
those,
go.
isn't it?
That depends on your numerology.
Just
I'm
answer
talking
him.
simple addition.
Just answer him. Come on.
Is it a decimal system?
Yeah.
Simple addition, Arwen, 5 and 5. 5 plus 5 equals
10.
what in simple
There
addition?
you go. He said 10.
Oh, thank you very much. So the Globers are thinking 5 and 5 added together is 20. Arwen says we can't tell them it's 10 because that's too much of a jump. So let's start with 15 and let's work them down to 12, and then we'll finally get them to 10.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
finally you get it.
Oh right, that sounds great.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
There you go. Look, you're killing all of us that already know
Yeah,
it's
but
10.
it's like treating drug addicts. To just cold turkey is hard shit, you know? You need to kind of give
Yeah,
them
but
a
listen,
life
but-
back instead.
But
Yeah,
Arwen,
but I hate
sometimes you have to,
regressing
though.
back to 15 when I already know it's 10.
Hey,
The
if
thing
you
is,
can
hold
go,
on, and
hey,
I
if you can go
really
cold
don't-
turkey,
Look,
good for you.
it's
you know?
obviously a good conversation, but we can't have 3 people talking at once. 2 is enough.
Cold turkey is not the issue. The issue is math is not dependent on sensory data. Logic is not dependent on that. It's the truth. Now, if they can't handle the truth, you want to say, okay, here's a lesser lie. At least handle a lesser lie. And then as I keep lying to you less and less, you'll finally get to the truth.
Yes.
Well, that's stupid.
That's nonsense. Just stick
No, but
to
I'm
the
not
actual
claiming
truth.
it to be the truth. I'm just conceptualizing. And they believe that naturally because it falls in line with their
Can you hear me,
belief.
Nathan? Or coming through here.
Hey, Spurs.
I'm not claiming
Check,
it to be
test
absolute
microphone.
reality.
Oh, you can hear me, yeah?
We hear you. Good to have you.
Oh, excellent.
First.
Fantastic.
Well,
Hi,
I would
everybody.
love
Yes.
for Arwen to be my banker.
I don't-
And when I go to the bank, Arwen, I'll say, Arwen, give me $1 million. And he'll say, yeah, but you don't have $1 million. I go, I know, but give me 900,000 at least.
Well, what's
But the point is, I only have $10, but you got to lie to me that I don't have $1 million. So you're going to give me 900,000 when my account's about $10.
okay. Well, do you got a house? What's your job?
Oh, come on.
Oh, so now you're going to get real now.
Maybe we should continue this after the housekeeping's over.
I just want to check with the chat, because while I'm getting more and more frustrated, I can hear Owen sniggering more and more. So how's this going over in the live stream? Let me know in the chat.
What?
You're keeping yourself amused. I can feel my blood boiling.
Sorry.
This is fun.
Well,
This is fun.
I think it has two. We can, if you always want to try and find a silver lining, I think we should have a 2-pronged attack. First is the truth. We show them how it is, but we also have to show them how ridiculous the ball model is. Like, because you're not going to pick up a new belief system if you're still attached to the old one. So we have to, yeah, I mean, he's being a little pedantic and out there at this point, but still, I think we should frame how ridiculous the ball model is. That should be part of what we do on top of as well, showing the
Yeah,
truth.
but you just said
got
tell
that.
the truth.
I kind of disagree with that, because if you have an abused child or someone in an abused relationship, or someone who's struggling to come to terms with something, I think the last thing you would, no matter how wrong or bad it is, right? You know, you wouldn't say to that victim, that abused victim, get over it, snap out of it. You're just wrong. You know, you would try to guide them, explain to them their errors, you know, in a patient way. I think patience is the key, because if you've been studying or learning or been told something, you know, for your entire life, you've been abused. You can call this abuse.
Isn't that
correct?
sweet?
That's correct. But hold on,
Isn't
that's
that
not the
cute?
end of it.
That's cheered me right up, Spurs. So you see the globe heads as abuse victims.
Yep.
Right.
Well, okay.
But that's not the end of it. Some of these abuse
their minds
victims
have been corrupted to the point where it's that, what's that effect where they if you've been kidnapped and you want to go
Stockholm
back
syndrome.
to,
Stockholm.
yeah, something like that. So this is the, you know, the victims here. You can see the rage. You can see, like, when you get them in a point where we'll explain this and demonstrate, they're just like you can see the nervousness. So this is what I feel. I can feel their pain. Because I was the same. I felt the devastation when I was found out it's not a ball. It's like, what? What do you mean? Why? You think, why would they lie? Why would they? You know, all of these questions start to arise, right?
You felt devastated when you found out it was flat?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't.
Several times.
Why
Well, not
did you
everyone
feel
has that.
devastated?
But so badly the first few times that I didn't sink in what the consequences of what I took it very superficial. Then later I realized, and I would disbelieve it because of that. Thought like, no, that
kind of
too
like
powerful.
you know, because you have to think about what, there's a dome or there's something, but there's no space. You know, they've built these rockets for no reason. They've gone to, you know, so you have to analyze so much. You know, obviously the older you are, the more you have to process, right? And that's why a lot of even like say like the older flat earthers, they still have they still want to hold on to certain values, right? Because it's very difficult to let go. It's traumatic for me. So it's a traumatic experience for me. Yeah.
Spurs, you know what you just described?
Well,
programming. Okay, so why is it that I know flat earthers, I myself being one of them, that didn't go through this trauma-based recovery, and then you're talking about a 12-step program before you accept the earth is flat?
it's just learn.
No,
it's
your
a learning
program.
process. That is to deprogram. They need to learn how to learn again.
No,
look, it's just that people are different. That's what the basis is. People are different. There are going to be people who are going to need that 12-step program, and then there are going to be people like me who literally thought, "Oh, I wasn't crazy all my life, thinking I can't possibly live on a spinning ball," because that's how I felt. So when I found flat Earth, for me, it was just like, "Oh, okay, I wasn't insane all my life." This makes sense.
Chocolate, you're a natural born.
Hang on, Arwen. Chocolate. When I say 12-step program, what do you interpret that as?
Yeah, like somebody who's an alcoholic, who needs AA and needs to get over this program that's been put on them all their life, which I understand, because I mean, look, I had a mobile with the solar system over my crib. Okay, one of my first twin mattresses when I was like 4 years old, 5 years old, after I got out of I got out of being in a crib, it had space on it, rockets and planets. I still remember it. You know what I'm saying? So,
Space Legos.
Also, your name is Chocolate Sands.
Everywhere.
Chocolate.
Space
Chocolate.
Legos everywhere.
Chocolate. I'm not talking about the steps of deprogramming. I'm talking about telling the truth or lying a little less?
Nah, I'm good. Hit them with the truth.
Thank you.
There aren't people living under my feet antipodal to my position. That's ridiculous. People aren't sticking to a spinning ball. We're not flying around in a vacuum. That's truth.
I do want to speak to that, though. I do want to speak to that. And that's fine. Like, you should always be consistent with the truth and everything like that. But there's a philosophy that I grew up grew up understanding, like, from the time I was the truth. Like, it's kind of a story. It's not going to be long. I'll try to make it short, but I'll just explain how, like when truth came into the world, and it was the truth that was blatant, but it cuts really deep. And the truth, like, it wasn't that it was bad, but it was like the foundation, like, was a lot for people to be able to take. So when you so like the whole moral is that when you cloak the truth, like, wisdom came into existence. When wisdom came to cloak the truth, that's when people were able to accept it and understand it without it bruising their their foundation and everything. They were able to accept it without completely just, you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to find the right words, but basically, like, you can give people the truth, but you can do it in a way where, of course, not everyone is going to accept it, but you can give people the truth, but you can do it in a way where they can, like, the wisdom also has to be in play and everything. People accept things better when you have the wisdom behind it.
Exactly.
You have when they have a foundation to stand on, not presupposing things. That's not what I mean, but having that foundation that they can stand on, so they don't just feel helpless. So it's like literally people, like, being told that their entire world is a lie. That is a very traumatic experience for a lot of people. For some people, that may not be the case. Like, it wasn't. Did I go through a slight depression? Not because I was lied to, but because I knew that now that I'm on this path, how it's going to affect my relationships with other people, how it's going to affect the way I see the world now. But I was able to. But then even after that, I was able to still accept that because people are people. You're going to meet people that agree with you. You're going to meet people that disagree with you. You're going to meet people that will accept the truth. Well, I'm almost done. You're going to meet people that will accept the truth, and you're going to meet people who want to stay in the delusions. The point is that you have to be the one to stay on the righteous path. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or what anyone else does and everything like that. So, like, so for some people that is going to be their experience. It's going to be traumatic for them. And you have to accept that that's what they're going to go through. That's my whole thing.
Well said. It's direct relation. The harsher the truth, or the more refined the truth, the more wisdom you require to be able to deal with it. And if you don't have that wisdom when you gain that truth, it will sink away, and it will require time to sink in. And then when you've gathered enough wisdom, you will be able to recollect it and deal with it.
I mean, I think the next stage, because, ridicule, it doesn't seem to be working. Like, it's not having the effect that it was supposed to. You ridicule someone, they kind of break, they back down, they change their mind, whatever. So I think what's happening is we're seeing psychology. I think the psychologists will be called to attention. So they'll say that there's something wrong with the way that we think or see things. I was in a discussion with the Ball Earthers, and they were like, "Oh, you need to speak to psychologists or some therapy." And I was like, "Okay, sure, fine. Wow, bring them." I said, "We could do this on a live stream. If you have a professional psychologist who could look at the way that you think we see things, I'd be glad to speak to a psychologist, like on a live stream,
I'd watch that. I'd definitely watch that."
Yeah, well, he was trying to arrange it. He said, "Oh, he has it was Zant. I don't know if you know Zant." He says he has some friends who was a psychologist. And he tried to arrange it. He was hopeful for it to happen, but I think they've realized, well, there's nothing here that they could do. Well, I mean, how would a psychologist go about a therapy for a flat earther? If the Ball Earther needs therapy to get over the trauma of being lied to, how would they see it, the ball earthers, that we, if they think that we need therapy, what would be the outcome? Like, I'm just trying to think how it would go. Like,
It depends who is under therapy. So, me speaking to a therapist, how's life, Nathan? Superb. Everything's excellent. The world is like being
Honestly,
a child
I
again. It's so
wouldn't-
wondrous. I'm so pleased to be alive. Yeah, so why are you here then? I've been told by ballers that I'm nuts. Why? Well, because I've realised that perspective isn't Earth curve.
Yeah, I feel like the therapist would be like,
I'd
the
love
first
to
question,
see a
like,
video
why
of
do
I
you
think
would love
saying
to
that.
have that interaction with some type of psychiatrist. See how
Yeah,
long it
but
takes before
psychi-
I
you would
drive
convince them
them
it's flat,
crazy.
I think.
I said to Zan, please, I mean, get them, welcome. I goes, this has to be on a live stream if possible, so everybody could see how they would view and what we, so that would be, if that could happen. So if there are any psychologists out there who feel, we have a misunderstanding, I don't know, like, I don't know if they think we see like ghosts or hear voices, or if it's something like that, if that's how they would go about it. You see, so it'd be very interesting. But I think that's the next stage, because they keep calling the crazy card, and I think there's going to be a call, because remember, science to them is very important. They think they have a hold or a grasp on science, and we're saying no, you have got science wrong. What we're saying is that everybody is wrong, basically. To everybody else, this may sound crazy, right? We're saying that all the scientists have got it wrong. We're saying all the mathematicians have got it wrong. We're saying all of, physics, known physics is all wrong. Okay. So again, how would they go about proving either or? I think it's just an interesting.
We're not saying that.
point.
We're not saying science is wrong. So, no. What we're saying is the people who claim to be science are actually pseudoscience. They've hijacked this term that is empirical to grease the skids of their just so stories. They simultaneously tell you that science doesn't prove things, just in case their just so story needs to be changed later down the line. Ultimately, we have a definitive method for proving causal relationships called the scientific method. And if you're going to assert a causal relationship, which most of their claims are from the ball side, then you can apply science to it. And what do you know? They do claim that they've got science. They just don't, which makes them pseudo-scientists. Now, let's not throw scientific discovery under the bus just because pretender clown muppet pseudoscientists claim to have science when they don't. That's nothing wrong with science in that regard. It's the pseudoscience we have an issue with. People who observe a phenomena, light in the sky, and then tell you a little story. They're pseudoscientists, but they'll tell you about how science says. Well, science doesn't say. It's a method of establishing cause and effect with systematic experimentation based on hypothesis after observing a phenomena. That's what it does. So if you want to observe a phenomena in the sky and then tell me about how the world works, you can go to hell, pseudoscientists. What you say? You've got science. I'm disagreeing with science. No, I'm not disagreeing with science. That's a method that you've not employed. So no, we're not at war with science. Absolutely not. Science is on our side. Pseudoscientists have hijacked the terminology. The purveyors of technology have hijacked the terminology. That doesn't mean we're at war with science. We're at war with pseudoscience.
Spurs, you used the term ridicule. If we ridicule an idea, that's different than ridiculing a person, correct?
Idea, the person, I mean, the whole thing, they go
Stay on
overboard.
topic.
They've tried.
Stay on top. Spurs, I asked a very discrete set of words in that question. Ridicule an idea.
Okay, yeah.
Right? We can ridicule an idea, not the person, correct?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so I don't care
Yes.
if he wants to play the victim card after I destroy his idea. I didn't try to destroy him. Actually, I was helping him by giving him truth to replace the lie. So I have to destroy the lie, the idea.
I agree. Yeah,
You're
that's how I
always
try to go about it.
No, hang on. You're always going to get friction. You're always going to be in a battle when truth meets a lie. You're trying to say, let's do it sanitized.
No response. Spurs?
I mean, people do tend to attack the individual. This is on their side. We attack the argument, which is what we do. We focus solely on the argument, which is what we do. No, I agree. Yeah, I'm just saying that the idea of the ridicule is, from their point, from their side, is to ridicule as much as possible.
You have the truth. You come and show them the truth. Their side is the lie. Just share the truth and ridicule the lie. And then, because you're in a battle for the mind, you're going to have friction.
I see Spurs as kind of like very empathic to these guys, which is a very good trait. It's cool. You're like a sensitive guy, Spurs.
Well, what I was going to say that once the ball earther, like you have a conversation with the ball earther, you go back and forth, and then it's time for demonstration time. So this is the first, I'm talking about the first contact with the ball earther, not after arguing over it, but I'm saying that the initial contact, the trauma begins for them is when they're unable to demonstrate, because they think they know what they're talking about. They're like, yeah, I understand. I have the equations. We've done it. And then you say, okay, you demonstrate to me your claim. That's when the trauma kicks in, and then they realize, well, and then now at that point, I think they're just relying on somebody somewhere to do the job for them. Like, I mean, that's how I was in the beginning. Initially, I was thinking that a ball earther, somebody will show that it's a ball. Like, this is like 5-6 years ago. I was thinking, well, someone's going to show that it's a ball. Of course it's a ball. So somebody will show, and I think that's what they are. They're like now. They rely on somebody else because they feel I don't have the answer. So somebody will find the answer. So they're just waiting, I think. So the trauma's kicked in. Most of the ballers that we engage with today are in actual trauma. So they know, like Rumpus, he knows he cannot demonstrate something. So all he has now is, like, for example, explanation after explanation. He can't go any further than that. So that is, to him, personally to him, that would be traumatic, right? Because you want to be right.
No, you're totally wrong. You're totally wrong here. Let me explain from my point of view and see if it makes sense.
Just before you do, though, hey Mac, hey Ranty.
Hiya.
Hiya.
Hey Ranty. Hey Mac.
Hey Nathan, how you doing, Nate? You alright?
Very good to have you. Sorry, carry on, 10th man.
All right. From the moment Flat Earth came into my circle, I hit it hard. I said, what? I wonder if it's true. I mean, this explains all the time. When I was in high school, I argued with the science teacher. Man, I'm going to check this out. In fact, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to try to prove it's around. And I couldn't. And I said, this is vindication. This is great. I've always known it was right. Okay. Then I start talking to everybody in my circle of influence. Okay. Up to that point, guess who I was? Steady, smart, retired at an early age.
Hold on, can we just go back 10 minutes? Let's just go back to when you said I tried to prove it was a globe. Yeah.
Spurs.
So this is my point.
Some empathy. Okay. All of a sudden, I take it to him. I say, hey, guess what? I saw something that's going to blow your mind. I can't draw a crowd if I was having a free barbecue. They're all avoiding me now. They all know I'm a flat earther and they don't want anything to do with it. What empathy? They don't even get in an argument. They don't even bring it up. They think I'm crazy. So I find this channel called Nathan Oakley. I said, wow, this is good. This is the tip of the spear kind of a thing I've been looking for, just to talk to people who want to talk. And then I see trolls and I see opposition and I see ballers. I go, where are they in reality? I want them right next to me. I can't find any of them. They're just on this show, it seems like. First, what I'm trying to say is that when you take the truth of the flat earth to people around you, they don't act like rumpus. They don't do any of this crap that you're talking about. They either shun you away because they think you're crazy, or a few of them, and I do have a few, have all been converted to flat earth. All the ones who would not say I'm crazy and took time to say, why do you think the earth is flat? I want to spend time with the people who say, why do you think the earth is flat? Not the other ones.
So I watch, while Physics Warrior is repairing a phone, I watch a show on YouTube called Lewis Rossman, and it's a guy in New York that does board repairs, and he's occasionally hinted at some conspiratorial topics on his streams. And I don't know, about a week, maybe 10 days ago, I was in his stream, and who should turn up but GeoShifter. Some of the older flat earthers may know who GeoShifter is. You might have seen one of his videos. You've mentioned about the rocket hitting the alleged dome with the sound of swishy water. He was one of the first people to stick that out in this arena. So he's got a, I don't know, 500,000 view video with that on it. Anyway, he was in there. So he and I got chatting, and it quickly turned into a discussion about space. And somebody in his shop that's doing a repair pretty much the same as Physics Warrior is now doing, says to the owner of the shop, this Lewis Rossman guy, have you been watching the live stream? You just heard it just on camera, one of the staff saying, have you been watching the live stream? So obviously the owner of the shop, the guy who's running the stream, this Lewis Rossman chap, suddenly is watching the stream chat with me and Geo talking about the violation of the second law of thermodynamics that is space. And then I watched one of his shows a couple of days ago, and in a sarcastic tone he said, unless you believe space is fake, or the contrary, I can't remember how I phrased it, something like, unless you believe space is real, something like that. It's like, oh right, so that seed's been well and truly planted then. That's unfortunate. My point being that he is like the guy you're discussing, 10th Man. He's just normal guy. Yeah, he showed some signs of being interested in conspiracy. Most people watch Ancient Aliens, so what? But he immediately heard it and went, he didn't do what you're describing from our opponents. He just looked at the information, assessed it, and went, and that was the sum total of his reaction. And then once he stewed on it, he's had a little think about it, right? And he started to mention it. But that's the typical reaction, tentative.
Yeah.
This is the point. I was trying to say that trauma. So look, globe earthers they call names. They say you don't get it. You're a moron. You're an idiot. So for me, at that moment, that's the trauma. How do they handle this truth of they cannot demonstrate something? So their first response is, "Oh, you don't understand what you're talking about. You don't get it." Like a very simple thing to understand. They say that you don't get it because they're having trouble getting their head around. This is what I mean, 10th Man, with the trauma. So yeah, if the guy you were speaking to or people you're speaking to, if they listen to, and they can see, okay, there's a problem. And then if they don't see there's a problem, they say, okay, there's not a problem here. And then you say, okay, demonstrate it. That's when the problem begins, because then they say, well, you just don't get it. You can't see what I see in my mind, that it works. The model works. So, you'd have Brenda or someone on here and say, well, you just don't get it. The model works. And you're like, okay, demonstrate this model. Oh, you just don't get it. You're just a moron. You don't understand. So this is for me is a serious. As soon as they start to act like this in this manner, this is the trauma kicking in, and they don't know how to respond in a normal situation.
Spurs, you've totally missed my whole point again. I mean, how many times do you have a steel plate in your brain or what? I mean, come on. The robber comes into your house to rob your house. He tells you it's because he's been broke, he's suffering trauma. As he robs you right in front of you and then beats up your kids. And then you make a police report. Yeah, I have empathy towards the guy. He robbed me because of this, and that. Are you kidding me? These people you're referencing.
I said this already, 10th Man.
Sounds kind of Swedish.
Spurs views these people as victims. as victims of abuse. In reality, they're the very small percentage who've just reacted extremely badly to this revelation. That's all they are. And the reaction is vitriol, and that I don't have any sympathy for them. Spurs, good for you.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
I'm just
I have no
again, you have to.
sympathy,
I
but-
see it how I saw it, which was, how could this be? How is it possible we've been lied to? And being into conspiracy as well, I was like, how did I miss this? Why wasn't I? I should have saw this when I understood 9/11 was an inside job and these things. So I can see the devastation of these people. It's like the whole world has been turned upside down, right? And trying to demonstrate something that doesn't exist is dramatic in itself, right? It's like trying to prove unicorns. And if I said unicorns existed now, and
you mean
you were
my
like, "Well, go on,
world
let's
was
prove it.
turned
Let's
right
have a
side
look."
up?
And I would just say, "Well, you just don't get it. You're a moron. You don't understand. Unicorns are real." And in my head, I understand how it might work and what I would need to do to demonstrate. I just can't do it right now. I'm not in a position to do that. So, again, that's a traumatic event. So they're lying for somebody else. They're protecting another institution, and they just need to realize that.
Spurs, I gotta hand it to you. You miss your calling. If you decide to be a psychologist right now, the ballers, you make so much money. If I was a baller, I'd pay you a yearly fee up front and keep coming to you because you just make me feel good.
Yeah, I mean, I do offer therapy for them on Discord. Actually, I mean, we talk about it like this. It is
You actually
psychology.
took that as a compliment?
I mean, I say to them things like, "Look, you guys." I mean, I'm happy to say that there is
Stop virtue signaling. We get it. You're a nice guy.
Spurs. That wasn't meant to be a
I would
compliment.
just say this is something that people need help with.
Oh my gosh, Spurs, are you missing it again? They need help with the truth. Tell them the truth. That's showing empathy. That's showing sympathy. That's being there for them by telling the truth.
They know, they want to know, why would they lie? Remember, once you understand the earth is flat, you have questions. How did they lie? Why would they lie? What's going on? So they need to get through.
And then
these
when you tell
questions
them, will they actually listen? Because I've told them many times.
Yeah, I mean, we have
and they just forget,
I mean, you'd be surprised,
literally the
I mean,
details
I know
of
it
what I
can
said.
seem like they are very dogmatic, but you can get them to have a discussion. Once they've calmed down, and you have a discussion with them, and you can actually find out what they really think. And 9 times out of 10, they just go with it because it's the consensus.
We already know.
I've got them down from 100% to 99%, which for me, for these people who 100% knew the Earth was a globe, there's doubt. There's that sliver of doubt, which is that seed, which is what we plant, right?
But that's why they're here in the first instance. So that doubt is the only. If they were absolutely assured in their belief, they wouldn't be here.
Exactly. Here's the thing, and I say this all the time. If you're a baller and you believe we are brain dead retards who don't understand the most basic principles of the world, why do you show up day after day and try and convince us?
I can tell you why. Again, it's psychology, right? They think. Remember, I've just said here, when you come into flat Earth, or you consider flat Earth, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, somebody has an answer. So the ball earthers think we have the answer, which we do. Okay, but they're looking for some type of ultimate answer. They're looking for a solution. We have that solution. We're giving them that solution, but they're just being difficult. It's very difficult to let go. So this is why they're here. Someone who believes in the ball, they're not involved in this discussion. They just, I believe in the ball, and they leave it alone. But somebody who, there are some who believe in the ball and argue the case, but the majority of ball earthers, they know it's not a ball. Then they know they're not able to demonstrate it. So they're here for our information. Remember, we're for the first time ever. Flat earthers are the ones actually going out there and doing research. This has never happened before. So of course the ball earthers are interested. When we go out there, make observations, or a balloon experiment, or someone's on a plane, they've never seen this before. Who has seen this before? Nobody. So yeah, they're on the journey as well. But again, it's very hard to be called an idiot 24 hours a day, a moron 24 hours a day. they would just rather say, okay, I'll stay with the ball and not be called a name and just let you guys take the shots. Yeah, that's definitely what I see as a result of this, is that they'd rather just not be called any names. I mean, who wants to be called, names all day long if we're debating this, right? Because there are just trolls who are there to distort. So there's a mixture. There's a mixture of people who purposely know, who are not sure, and who want to, things like that. So just have to maneuver through all of those things. And I think we're doing great. I think we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. You've got the discussion, the debates. You've got people who go out there and research. You've got conferences. You've got meetups. It's in the media. So, this is helping people get their head around it. And that's as Mark Sargent said in his video, he said, this will help you to get your head around it. I think people forget that. This is something you have to get your head around. You can't just say the earth is flat, accept it. And so people want to know why, how, what do you mean? And so I've always had that, getting your head around it with these people. Easy to get your head around. Because as Nathan's even said, you keep talking about space, you keep talking about moon landing as if they're real. That's getting your head around. I mean, I do it. I'm like, well, prove space, how does a rocket work in space? That's the old way, thinking that space is a real thing, right? So how do you have a discussion with a ball earther if you're like, well, there's no space? And, well, I mean, you do have them. I mean, I'm just saying, but that's where you fall into that trap is, well, space and the moon landings, and that's the trap, isn't it? Because there is no space, and obviously there were no moon landings and things like that. So yeah, it's just just trying to find a way to get them to see
blanket to them, though. That's all you're doing. You're only offering them a comfort blanket when you want to talk about space, because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel that it's real.
No, it's my mistake. That is, yeah. I've tried to stop doing that. If as soon as they mention space or gravity, I'm like, well, what's gravity? What's space? And then again, they realize, okay, we can't demonstrate it, and then we just have to talk about why they believe what they believe. But like I say, from 100%, there are still
need that comfort blanket. That's the problem, is that they can't just have nothing replay. That's why they so aggressive. Where's your model? Where's your model? I mean, look at Jose. Much love to Jose and all that, but this is why he went back to the ball, supposedly, because he doesn't have a model that he thinks answers all these questions. He said it himself. The heliocentric model has answers for all these things. They might not be right, but they're answers.
He needs to believe he has all the answers somehow.
Right. So, and I know he's not the only one who needs the answers, needs to know why these things work. I'm sure there's a lot of people like that. And I would love to know, but I'm not just going to accept and cuddle up with a lie just because I don't have an answer to the truth. Like, get out of here. That's ridiculous.
Jose has the second law of thermodynamics, which is a law. Why doesn't he believe that? That's better than any model.
They don't have a model. You can't get mass to float in a vacuum or in a low pressure. So they keep this is the whole thing. They keep saying they have answers. Yeah, we have answers too. If we just make up stuff that could never possibly happen, that's not an answer. They're not explaining anything. So that's the irony of the model, is that it isn't even a model that you can make. So it isn't even something you can put your confidence in.
And they claim that they say, well, if you have a better explanation, it's not about having a better explanation. That's what they don't seem to get. It's about or better just so story. Basically, it's not. They don't get that. That's not the case. The problem is that it doesn't work, and even trying to come up with some other type of logical, you still have to prove it. Like some type of other logical explanation, you still have to prove it. And the problem is we can't prove what's happening above us. We can't do it. So you can't them saying the only thing that we can say is that it can't possibly be a vacuum because we have gas pressure. That's the one thing that we can say for sure, with confirmation from science itself that you cannot have gas pressure without a container. But everything else It's like, what are you saying? You know, like that's what you really have to come to conclude, and that's something that they have to realize themselves. They're not. You can give them all of the facts, and they can tell you that you're wrong, all that they want to, without really understanding what it is that you're saying. Not that they don't understand what you're saying, but I mean that like they can say that you're wrong without really understanding what you're trying to say. I'll say that. Like what's your they don't understand it. Yeah, basically. I'm sorry. I had my point, and I I do that a lot. I need to work on that. But basically, that's the problem. Yeah.
Everybody has a choice here. You either accept the law of nature or you accept a man-made model. Now, does nature make models or does it run in an orderly fashion with laws?
Right. And you can't just say like, you can't just say that, well, if this is happening, then that must mean that there is a defiance of that law. And it's like, no, you can't defy a law. That's the whole point.
I told a guy, do you believe you can have gas pressure without a container? Asked the question directly. Good friend of mine. In a restaurant. And he said no. And then I said the rest of the stuff about what NASA says and Earth being a ball. And he says, wait a minute. Are you saying you don't believe the Earth is a ball? And I said, no, you said it. He said, what do you mean? I said, you said you can't have gas pressure without a container. He says, right. I go, so then how could we be what they say we are? And he was stuck on that the whole time because he said it. Because it's a law of nature. Because
that's the best way to get them to, man, to claim themselves how ridiculous the nonsense is. And when you get them to say it, that's when it'll snap. Well, some of them, not all of them. But when you can get them to realize how ridiculous what they believe in is, that's when something starts happening in their brains.
I thank Nathan and John for that statement because I use it first in everything, and then I bring in everything else, and then they've already committed because they're saying this is a law of nature. It supersedes all models, and NASA garbage.
I'm just going to read out Ninja Man's super chat. It says, Spurs, give me a break. These people are lying, good for nothing pieces of garbage. Heard enough of your nonsense. They are not children. Hey, John.
But that's the misconception actually, because people have been treated like children their entire lives. This is the point. If you give adults cartoons and animation, CGI, whatever, you are treating the people that trust you like youths, children, students. Okay, so this is why I see they're maintain. I mean, again, if we look at the characteristics of a globe earther, right, they are quick to go to playground scenarios. I mean, you're asking an adult, can you demonstrate your claim? And what we're seeing is a childlike behavior. They are retreating. Okay, they're acting out. This is not normal for me. This is not normal for an adult to behave like this. So if they're behaving like this, for me, you have to kind of treat them in the same light. I mean, obviously they're adults, but I mean, if their behavior towards this subject is childlike, well, then you can only see that they are going through something traumatic. And yeah, I see it's hard. People see that they're just lying, they're outright defending. But for me, this is the biggest. We're talking the biggest lie that I've known in our lifetime. So the biggest requires the biggest comebacks therapy, whatever. So it can't be treated lightly or treated lightly. Yeah.
Hey Nathan, how
The
long you got
biggest
to go?
lie
to
is
the end of the show?
combated with the truth. Simple as that. You don't combat a lie with anything else but the truth.
Hey Nathan,
Hey,
how
John.
long you got to go to the end of the show?
The live show is going to end in the next couple of minutes, and then we'll have an after show. So if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Hey, how far can you go past? I'd like to present something real quick. It'll only take about 3 minutes, but I'm trying to chow down some breakfast. Can you run a little bit longer?
You want to do it immediately?
Not immediately. I got about another 5 minutes here, and then a 3-minute presentation. Just real short. but
okay, fine.
Really, is that a pain?
Well, I just like to keep them to an hour, and it'll end up being longer, but that's okay.
Thanks, man. I'll be back.
No worries.
These people have been sold a dream. You know, Nathan, you talk about Narnia. They've been sold Narnia. If you sell children Narnia, then they have to be treated the same way as any child who believes in Narnia, right? And you would not saying to anyone here in particular now, but you would not punish a child because they believe in Narnia, right? Just because they happen to, look like adults. And,
why do you associate telling the truth
I
with
don't agree.
punishment?
I don't agree. So if one of my daughters told me that she believed Narnia was an actual place, I'd set her straight. Well, no, it's just pretend. It's not real. And when somebody says, I think the sky is a vacuum, I say, no, that's not possible.
I mean,
but
isn't
your
that what we're
daughter would
doing
say
when parents are out there teaching their kids that Santa Claus is
But this is the point, because we know children think like that. You put her straight, but in her mind, she's read books, she's seen cartoons. She cannot understand the difference between real and fantasy because she's a child. That's what makes children different to adults. If children understood and were responsible, they wouldn't be children, right? So, the difference here, I think that these adults have taken their childhood into their adulthood and they refuse to let go of this fantasy that they've had since a child. It's like someone today believing in Santa Claus today, an adult, yes, you would either say something is wrong mentally with that person, or if we were, going to take it seriously with them, we would do, our best to say, well, Santa Claus is not real. Let's show how it's not real and things like that. So, yeah, I agree. They seem like liars, but they're adults, so they're able to appear in a different way to how children may lie. You see, these are not lying because
everything in the last 45 minutes has done one iota of moving you forward. You're still stuck in your quagmire.
Yeah, let's move on, please.
My goodness, you're like a baller, man.
Check out Arwin jumping on that bandwagon. Earlier, before Spurs got here, we were moaning about you coming up with fantasy nonsense rather than just sticking to the truth.
I loved it the first 5 minutes, and then he basically made the same point over again 40 minutes long. So
okay.
Oh my Jupiter.
I've been waiting to present something as well, but I've just been letting Spurs carry on.
I mean,
sorry, Randy. I mean, I would have stopped at any moment. I did. Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to keep this live show going a bit longer. I'm sure the chat will be delighted. Please share the show.
I mean,
this will be an extended live show.
I will say this: there is a bit of duality in life, right? And I think, like we're kind of like going at Spurs right now because he's like, oh, let's feel bad for the Ballers, but I think it's a good thing to have somebody like that. The same way, we'll have someone like Nathan who just destroys the global day. It's nice to have somebody like Spurs who will be trying to kind of coddle the Ballers a little bit. Like, hey guys, it's okay.
Well, I
agree with you, Choco. I see Spurs better
myself.
Yeah,
but I don't talk for 40 minutes straight about that single subject, though.
I'd rather have. Hold on, we've got Ranties ready to rock and roll, aren't you, Ranty?
I am, yeah.
Right, let's get you going then. While we're waiting for John.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I want to talk about diffraction because obviously the globalists seem to think that diffraction doesn't play a part in losing any detail in your photography or anything like that. So this is a series of images that I took facing the same location. So I'm aiming for this cloud here, specifically in this location right where the cursor is. Now, this is without any zoom at all, and it was in 4K as well. So this is shot in 4K, so it's the highest resolution that I could get. And what we've got is we've got some smudges on the horizon. These are the wind turbines, and this is the actual location right here, where I'm actually going to do a series of images getting incrementally closer. And so from this point here, you know, the angular resolution of all this stuff over here, in other words, this turbine here, this big turbine, 300-foot turbine, is in perhaps half a dozen pixels. That's all it's in. So it can't collect all the data. It just can't do it. So it's actually diffracted. So this means that all that data there's a lot of data that's being lost. It's being spilled into the neighboring pixels, and the Aries disks, all that information isn't being collected. And this is just a perfect example of the diffraction limit in action. So that's the first image. Here's the next image. I'll zoom in closer. And if we want to focus on something really small, which would be this little part right next to this turbine, and you can see that it's a little bit of a smudge. Again, it's not very clear. Let's go to the next image. And then when we zoom into the same location, we can actually see a lot more detail now. We can actually see that there's some kind of structure there. But if we go back a couple of images, like I say, let's go back to the very first image, and we look at this, we have no idea that that structure would even be there. This is the location where it would be. It's filmed in 4K, and it's not visible. It is completely invisible. And what's going to happen is that the camera will, I went into my digital, here we go. So this is in digital. And essentially this was as close as that I could get. So once we've got to this point, and this turbine here, which is some 16 miles away, we've got to this point, these turbines 16 miles away. If there was another object twice as far away, even in digital zoom, you wouldn't be able to see it. It's as simple as that. Things would be lost, data would be lost, things would be lost to diffraction. And this is just a really cool example of how that actually works.
Cool, very cool. Thank you, Randy. Is that the end of your bit?
Yeah. I mean, I've got loads more. I've got a load of stuff to talk about at some point, but this was what I wanted specifically to talk about today. It's just that the Globers seem to think that in every image you're going to capture all the details. It doesn't, you know, there's no, you're always going to get all the details, and this is just a good example of proving that wrong. So in this image, we have no idea that that building is there, or that structure is there next to that turbine. Same as your eyes, your eyes as 0.02 degrees, your eyes wouldn't be able to see it. The camera isn't able to pick it up. And at some point, all the cameras get diffracted. There is a diffraction limit to everything. And eventually, at some distance, you wouldn't be able to see anything, no matter how good your camera is.
Excellent. Absolutely spot on.
No problem.
Your timing is epic, and Quantum Eraser's ready to rock and roll. Do you need to present your screen?
I didn't say I was ready yet.
Oh, we haven't bought enough time.
I know you are. Okay, listen. Yeah, let's just do it. I'll present the screen. 1 second.
Okay, give me a second, then I need to set that up. So.
Okay.
I'll just present it to the Hangout as well, just because I'm that kind of guy.
Just let me know when it's up, man.
Yeah, just give me a couple more seconds.
Yeah. Take your time. We got 4 more hours.
We haven't. Think of it as though there's 4 more hours. Right, I think we're ready to go. Right, you're on.
Yeah, so late, I think it was late yesterday, Anthony brought or made a video about conspiracy cats. Right, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this one. I was checking it out later yesterday. But I was absolutely shocked at this. Now, we're talking about an educated baller now, because conspiracy cats, he's not only educated, he's teaching your kids, right? Let's see what he has to say here. Conspiracy cats. The second law of thermodynamics is about the movement of energy, not the movement of matter. I nearly fell off the chair. I couldn't believe that he actually said that. I had to go back and listen to it a few times. What the hell is he talking about? Number one from University Today or the universetoday.com. Number one, Einstein showed us light and matter are just aspects of the same thing. Matter is just frozen light, and light is matter on the move, right? Einstein's most famous equation says that energy and matter are two sides of the same coin. So what the heck are you talking about, conspiracy cats? I mean, you're an Einstein junkie, right? Number two, from the entropy site .edu. In classical thermodynamics, it is viewing entropy increase as a measure of the dispersal of energy from localized to spread out at a given temperature, right? In molecular thermodynamics, it is considering the change in a system or surroundings or their total, for which there are fewer accessible microstates to one for which there is an increased number of accessible microstates. I mean, don't you know this? Again, from the entropy site .edu, gas expansion into a vacuum. The mixing of ideal gases or liquids, diffusion, effusion, colligative effects, and osmosis each fundamentally involves an increase in entropy due to increased dispersion of energy with no change in total energy in the case of ideal substances due to a greater number of microstates for the particular system involved. This physics teacher had failed 6th grade intro to physics. I mean, I'm speechless. Wait till you hear this one. This is the last one, by the way. Conspiracy cats. The particles that have made it that high up in the atmosphere have already done so much work against gravity and have radiated off so much of their energy as heat that they have almost no energy left whatsoever. What? Are you on medication? Dude, have you heard this before? An object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. You heard this before. Number two, this gets better. Gas particles are constantly colliding with each other and the walls of their container. These collisions are elastic. That is, there is no net loss of energy from the collisions. This is intro to chemistry, by the way. And by the way, where's the container? Too funny. Number three, the average kinetic energy of gas particles is proportional to what? The absolute temperature of the gas. And all gases at the same temperature have the same average kinetic energy. So, that high up in the atmosphere, crayon munching Mr. Magoo, is the thermosphere, where temps can reach better than 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. They're gaining energy. And number four, radiate off energy is heat to what? To what? Do you even know the three levels of heat transfer? Please explain that to us. And what happens to gases when they cool? After you answer that, then where's the liquid in the upper atmosphere? My word, sir. And number five, gravity. We've been down this road before. Which gravity? Einsteinian or Newtonian? Then, is gravity a force? B, is gravity a scientific law or scientific theory? C, what is the cause of gravity? D, scientifically validate the one you choose. Here we go again. What natural phenomenon was observed? Post a formal scientific hypothesis, then experiment that validates your claim. Number three, highlight the independent and dependent variables that were used in the test. Cite source. Post a null hypothesis that was rejected or falsified. Oh, never mind. From techtarget.com. A gas is a sample of matter that conforms to the shape of a container in which it is held and acquires a uniform density inside the container, even in the presence of gravity, and regardless of the amount of substance in the container. If not confined to a container. Gaseous matter, also known as vapor, will disperse into space. Duh. In conclusion, if cats would have said water is made from boll weevil salts, it would have been more coherent. For fuck's sake, man. Thanks for.
And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel on both Discord, Skype, and indeed the Hangouts on Air regular panel members. If you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this in the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream, then this is where we bid you farewell. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Yeah, chip dip.
Oh, he ended up too soon, did he? Nathan, what's he doing? I was going to jump on that conspiracy cats as well, the prick.
You know, from what I hear, Riley said that Conspiracy Cats wants to actually fight him now.
Really?
Because of the video. Yeah.
What, like a
he used
debate?
the analogy of, you're not a pedophile, but I can think of you as one. And apparently he took that to the butthole. So he's mad about it and he wants to fight Riley about it.
Like
Instead of
physically
addressing
fight?
the point. Yeah, instead of addressing this is what I'm hearing from Riley. So we'll have to
Wow.
confirm with him with that. But yeah, he said he
Good
would
luck,
rather fight
conspiracy
him.
cats. If he'd run up to Riley, he'd just bounce off him.
He needs 8 sessions with Spurs for therapy before.
Well, Riley said, from what I hear, Riley said that yes, if that's the direction you want to go.
That's hilarious.
I mean, he never called him a pedophile. He just said he can think of him as one.
Exactly.
Legally.
And his whole point is words have meaning. So if you can, you guys are running around telling us that gravity is a force, but we don't have to think of it as one. Well, it's the same thing.
All right, let me just get something straight. When this standard is applied to him, he doesn't like it. Because obviously he wouldn't want to thought of something that he's not. So how dare you think of me of something that I'm not? And especially in the face of making it clear with a declaration that I'm not that thing, how could you possibly dare to tell people that we could think of me as that particular thing? That's what he's saying.
So you're calling conspiracy
Beautiful
cats a
irony.
pedophile.
No.
Is that
listen,
that's
no,
what you
no.
just said you're doing?
Sorry, Brenda. No, that's
you're
not
calling conspiracy cats a pedophile.
She's just going to say the same fucking thing 5 times rather than let me answer it. No, Brenda. Listen.
So
to
what
the
I
statement.
hear you saying is you're
shut
calling
up.
Brenda
I'm trying to respond to you, Brenda. I'll
pedophile.
just kick you out if you can't listen to any responses. I don't need to hear the same shitty assertion 7 more times. I heard you the first time. Now let me respond, please. No. The assertion is as follows, and I'll make it absolutely clear with emphasis on the main points. Conspiracy Cats is not a paedophile. However, you can think of him as a paedophile. Is that clear?
How can you think of somebody as a pedophile who's not a pedophile?
That's very interesting. You should say that because our argument would be that you can't think of something that's not a force as a force. So when it's applied to you, when it's applied to the individual, what an outrage. How dare you think of me as something that I'm not? But when it's applied to your fundamentalist religious belief in gravity, that's perfectly acceptable, is it?
So those are completely different. So the comparison is not apt.
It's an analogy.
The comparison is not apt.
It's an analogy. And to be fair,
the analogy is false.
No, it proves that you actually get the analogy.
Why is it bad?
Right?
It proves you get the analogy.
Explain why it's a bad.
Why is it a false analogy fallacy? It's the same damn thing.
No, it's not.
That's
the same
why it's
thing.
an analogy.
So you're calling him. So you're calling conspiracy cats a pedophile.
Hey, you stupid bitch. Why the fuck can't you listen? You stupid bitch. I'll say it again. The first statement I'll put even more emphasis on because Brenda's fucking thick and she can't listen. I'll make the statement really clear this time, you dumb bitch. Conspiracy Cats is not a paedophile. However, you can think of him as one if you choose to do so. If you want to think of him in that way, you can. If you want to.
And you're saying there's no difference between...
I'll say it again before Brenda interrupts. I'll say it once more because she didn't hear the first or second times. I'll say it once more. I'll say it once more. I'll say it once more without the entire panel rumpusing the living shit out of me just because Brenda's got here. I'll repeat it for a third time. He is not a paedophile, but you can think of him as one if you want to. Okay?
Right.
I can say it another way, Brenda. I can say it another way. Look, listen, Brenda. I can say it another way. Listen, you can think of yourself as a lady if you want to.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you're not.
But that's a different situation
Or you
from
could
what you're
say,
saying about gravity.
You are not a lady. You are not a lady, but you can think of yourself as one.
That's a completely different situation.
Break it down more. We can simplify this more. If A is not A, then you cannot think of it as A. Remove everything. If something is, then you can think of it as it is not. That's not that is not a logical statement.
Correct. That's not a logical statement.
What isn't?
So something is either a force or it's not a force. Something is either a pedophile or it's not a pedophile.
About the outside
So
world.
you can think of Conspiracy Cats as a pedophile.
You can do whatever you... Hold on, let me answer her. I said it twice, I'll say it a third time. She'll never listen or acknowledge it. You can, if you want to. He's not. That's been made absolutely clear. But you can if you want to. Think of him in that way. You can. Now, equally, you can think of gravity as a force. It's absolutely not a force. It's not attracting anything or forcing anything ever. But you can, if you want to, think of it in that way.
Yeah, so the comparison is, so what Ranty said, I can think of myself as a lady, but I'm not. But that's not what we're saying.
All right, well, equally.
Excuse me, just a second.
You're missing stop rumpusing Brenda. Why is everyone... Stop. Everyone shut up.
I was almost done. I can think of myself a lady, but you say I'm not, right? But I behave as one.
Yeah, and I choose to think of you as a male. I don't
behave as one.
But
so
I know
I can
that...
think of myself as a lady, but I behave as one. You can think of
Can
gravity
you give birth, Brenda? Can you give birth?
As not a force.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I find that personally.
Because you can't. A force can move an object. A lady can give birth to a child. So unless you can give birth to a child and do lady thing, you can't be considered a lady.
Get back to the original.
Yeah, let's stop equivocating.
So you can think of gravity as a force because it behaves as a force.
That's not what he said.
That is what is meant.
That's not what he said.
You can think of gravity as a force because it behaves as a force.
That's not what he said.
That is what any child
Brenda, this is another one of those fucking times, isn't it?
You can think of gravity as a force
stop talking.
I
stopped everyone. Brenda, I stopped everyone for you. Now you can extend me the same courtesy. This is another one of those times that I don't need you to assert it 5 more times. You haven't correctly quoted him. That is not what he has said. That is not what he meant. That is not what gravity is. Whatever you want to think it is.
Well, what gravity is, it is a distortion in space-time that you can think of as a force because it behaves as a force.
I see. Hold on.
Space-time.
Guys, hold on. I've got a couple of questions.
Hold
on.
Full stop. That's it. Gravity.
That's ask Brenda a question.
That's what the physicists that people talked to said was,
Brenda,
you can think of gravity as a force.
We know what he said. You don't need keep... Right, I'm getting tired of you, Brenda. I don't need you to repeat the incorrect quote 5 more fucking times. Yeah, I've said that I've said that 3 times. Now shut up.
It's on screen if you want to share it. Exactly what he said.
Fine.
So
yes.
the quote is unimportant.
Brenda, shut up.
The point is that it means...
Brenda, what part of shut up don't you understand? Right, it's on screen. Can you all see in the Hangout? No.
If you could read it, because
No, I can't.
No worries.
I closed the Hangout.
Go ahead.
Right.
I'll go ahead and read it.
Please.
From George Mooser. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. End of statement.
That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been
You were
saying.
saying the force of gravity.
You said behaves.
No,
Behaves
I've
and
been
think
saying
of is two
exactly
totally
that.
different things.
You didn't say exactly that. You said behaves. You friggin'
That's right.
fruitcake.
Gravity is
Where's
not a
behaves
force.
in this?
Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force because
where's
it behaves. as
No,
a
he didn't
force.
say that, you stupid bitch. How many times are we
Oh,
going
I
to tell
know
you?
he didn't say that.
Well,
but
who
I
gives a
understand
shit
it.
then? Like, we care what you think. You think you can change
No.
gender. Well, good for you. You can think what you like.
that's
You're not going to be giving
unrelated.
birth, and space isn't going to be pulled to the centre of Earth because of a belief in a force that is not a force. It is not a force. End of statement.
Oh, I don't disagree that it's not a force. It
Good.
isn't a force.
Stop pretending it is. Stop
But you
thinking
can
about
think-
it as though it were. It isn't. Doesn't matter what you think. It's not a force. So
Yeah,
don't
she
be
thinks-
coming here telling us how it pulls or pushes things, because it
Right.
It's a
doesn't.
force.
Right. Mrs. DNA is made of amino acids. You clown. What the hell?
No, it isn't.
No. Yeah. No. You also said mutations and epigenetics were the same. Are you are you on medication?
Epigenetics are
That's not what he asked.
structures that
That's not what he
attach
asked.
the
Try to
DNA.
listen. You're not listening. Are you on medication?
So gravity
I'm done
is not a
talking to this
force.
fruitcake.
Quantum, I would challenge you to debate anywhere, except here.
That'd be like Elmer Fudd challenging Tiger
Well, then
Woods on the 18th at the
Then
Masters.
it should be no trouble
You
for you.
friggin' moron!
Then it should be no
You
trouble for you.
couldn't pass 5th grade general science or
It
a
should be
60
no
level
trouble for you
basic
then. It should
reasoning
be
course.
easy
She can't even remember a
You're a
quote.
friggin' moron.
Can't even quote
It should
people.
be easy peasy.
You messed up
I
the
just
quote. The
debated
first thing
you.
you did.
This is what's happened. Let me just
on
lay
an
it out. Right?
independent
Let me just lay out
platform
what's just
where-
happened. Basically, what's happened is Brenda's come, made an assertion about gravity being a force when it's not a force with a few weasel words. We've pointed out a quote from an astrophysicist. She's been absolutely battered. Now she's claiming she needs to debate quantum eraser. She'll soon be stating about neutral platforms and how this one's unfair because she's been absolutely annihilated. That's what's just happened.
Threaten to mute all the time.
Delusional fruitcake.
So, on an
the
independent
question
platform,
is,
yes.
how do you conduct ADLs on a daily basis? That's what I want to know. Without
So,
a fleet
so
of slobber
gravity,
nurses.
gravity is not a force. I agree.
Excellent.
How
We
do
all
you
agree.
conduct
It's not a force.
ADLs.
We
How
all
do you
agree
conduct
with Brenda.
ADLs? Do you know what ADLs are?
Yeah, I don't care
Without
what
a
you're talking
fleet
about.
of slobber nurses. That's the
Yeah,
question.
I don't care. I don't care what you're talking about.
Yeah, you don't care.
So-
They're called
so
activities
gravity
of
is a
daily
force.
living.
She just literally said 30 seconds ago gravity is not a force. Now, literally, after that little diatribe from John, no offence, she said it is a force. So she's a double-speaking clown. She wants it to be a force. All the fundies on her side need it to be a force. Unfortunately, their astrophysicist priest has made it abundantly clear. Now, it don't matter what you think it is. I couldn't give a crap about your thoughts on the matter. It's not a force.
Yeah, but it behaves as one.
No, non-forces don't behave like forces. Non-forces are non-forces. They're not pushing, they're not pulling, they're pseudo-forces. Fictitious forces, not actual forces.
Fictitious force, you're correct.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's what he said. It's a fictitious force.
Yeah, not actual force, not real force, not forcing anything, not pushing or pulling anything, not doing anything. So when you say a force can manifest out of a non-force, that's double-speak, complete and total nonsense.
Well, something can behave in such a way that it appears to us it is an apparent force.
You said that George said that it's a fictitious force?
Yes.
Go ahead, pull that up.
No.
Not that it matters, but I want to hear him say that.
No. No, I don't.
No.
I'm not a
Fictitious
child.
You
I don't
understand the
think in quotes.
concept of supporting your claims? I know you baltards don't
Yeah,
understand
I'm
this.
just
When you make a claim, you then the next thing out of your mouth should be as evidenced by, and then cowbell.
No,
You understand that, right?
Brenda, you just
I
misrepresent.
don't. I'm not a child, and so I
But you're
don't
making
think like
things
a
up.
child. So I don't think that quotations of "daddy" make things true.
What
You're
the
making
hell
things
are you
up.
talking
Quotations
about?
from Daddy? You're talking specifically about somebody that you're quoting. And that you've said that he said it was a fictitious force. When asked to confirm it, you replied in the affirmative. And now you're saying, oh, I don't believe in going and getting actual quotes from Daddy. What the bloody hell are you babbling about? If you're going to quote somebody, you're expected to back it up. It's as simple as that. And like all the other fundies who come here, who misquote me all the time, we're tired of it. If you're going to claim something, don't just spout shit about what George Moose has said. Back it up.
Yeah, he called it a fictitious
So back that claim.
Go get it!
Fictitious means fiction.
So back it. Back your claim.
Yes.
Hold on. Let's see if she does it again. Let's see. Let's see.
Not real.
Hold on.
Yes.
Brenda, we're going to hold you to task on this.
Yes,
If
that's
you can
correct.
shut up long enough,
Nevertheless,
which is highly unlikely.
Yes, that doesn't mean that gravity
No,
doesn't
you
exist.
guys are missing the point. I
Fictitious
don't really
means
care.
not real.
Oh, wait.
Dumbass.
It
That's
doesn't matter.
correct.
I just want her to show what he said was fictitious force. It's a train wreck anyway. I just want to see or hear George Musser say it's a fictitious force.
But just review the audio yourself.
No, it's
I did.
your claim. How many times have we got to point out to these fundy dicks that if you're going to assert something, you have got to back it up? Don't tell me to go out and sift through his bloody video to find the quote that you have quoted, probably completely out of context, probably not a quote. He probably never bloody said it.
What's the word?
Even if
He did.
Even if he
Fictitious.
did,
He did.
I'm just
He
listen.
didn't. He
Fictitious,
didn't. He
Randy.
said magical. He didn't
Right.
say fictitious.
He just
said
admitted
magical.
to me that it is not real. Fictitious is not real.
Who cares?
Yes.
That's not the point, are we?
Gravity
The point,
is a fictitious force.
the point is, as always, the globetard on the panel has claimed to quote somebody, and does she have the quote to hand? No. Can she tell us where to get the quote? No. Is she putting it up on screen to make absolutely certain that people know it's an actual quote, not just made up on the spot by her? No.
Right. Just support what you say. It's just that easy.
No, that's unimportant.
Let me get this right. You stupid bitch. Don't ever quote me, you unbelievable bitch. How the hell do you think George Musa will feel when you say you're quoting him and you make something up? You unbelievable bitch.
No.
You think it's unimportant, do you? You stupid bitch. No, stupid bitch. It's very important. If you quote me, you better be damn sure to put in quote marks around what I've said and then show where I've said it or written it. No, don't just make stuff up. That's absolutely outrageous.
No, it's not. Yeah, because he would.
No, it's not. Yeah, it is. If you claim I've said something and I haven't said it, and then say something to the effect of, but you can think of it as though he said it, because quoting people correctly isn't important, yeah? That's the kind of nonsense we get from the bullshitter you're trying, incorrectly, to quote.
So the reason that he said that is because gravity.
Said what? You haven't quoted him. What part of this isn't sinking in, you dumb bitch? Oh, I'm not going to accept another word out of your mouth until you actually put quotes around it and show us where he said it. Don't keep telling me that what he said. Yet all you're doing is misrepresenting him. I'd be fuming if I was him. I'm fuming on his behalf and he's not even on my side.
He would agree with me. He would totally agree.
Oh, would he? So now you're going to tell us about what he thinks and feels? My God, the outrage of this bitch.
You need to be institutionalized, man.
Yeah.
Gravity is a.
Don't tell us what another man thinks. Do not tell me what George Musa thinks.
Even if he didn't say it.
Even if he didn't say it, he'd agree with you, would he? So you know his motivation, you can speak to his thoughts and feelings. You're clairvoyant now, are you daft cow?
I can speak to his thoughts and feelings.
No, you can't. You can quote him. That's what you can do if you were reasonable. You'd write down what he said, put quotation marks out around it, and repeat it verbatim. That's what a quote is. It's not unimportant that you get it incorrect. It's absolutely critical.
I just
clairvoyant.
read the transcript and I had
It's
a look
really
for the word
unimportant.
fictitious.
She keeps saying it's just unimportant. Yeah, I'll just make shit up that you've said then, Brenda. Yeah? Shall I just make something up that you've said, and then when asked to back up the quote that you haven't actually said, I'll just tell the audience it's unimportant? A bit like claiming somebody's a paedophile. Right, Brenda?
It would be unimportant if it was something that I would say.
Oh, well, why is Conspiracy Cat so outraged? We've made it plain. It's not double speak after all. The guy's not a paedophile. But if you want to think of him as a paedophile, you're perfectly entitled to think of Conspiracy Cats as a paedophile. He's not a paedophile, but you can think of him as a paedophile. Well, that's perfectly reasonable, right? In the same way, it's perfectly reasonable to just completely make shit up about people, not put quotes around it, and then claim that that bit's unimportant.
Can you think of Conspiracy Cats as a pedophile?
You can do whatever you like. You can make shit up as well, can't you, Brenda? It's just when somebody like me comes along and points out that that's an absolute outrage, and Conspiracy Cats is right in his outrage towards the doublespeak, which is precisely what it is. Telling somebody that something's not something, but you can think of it in that way, is an outrage. Total doublespeak. And when applied to him personally, he experiences the outrage, doesn't he? The same outrage we experience when some double-speaking pseudoscience astrophysicist tells us that something's not a force, but we can think of it as a force. It's an outrage. And it's an outrage when you just make shit up that this man has not said.
It's like a force. It acts like a force. That's why you can.
Oh, she's just going to talk us in double-speak circles.
Did you ever consider carnival as a vocation?
Well, she's not addressing anything we've said. It's an outrage that the doublespeak exists in the first instance, and when a baller, laughably so, gets outraged with the perfect example, Anthony's a genius, he's absolutely on fire at the moment. The reaction from Conspiracy Cats was totally played for. He doesn't realise how stupid he is by being outraged by this. Totally playing into Anthony's hands. What a complete buffoon. Yeah, be outraged, Cats, so we can take a few more of your actual quotes, put quote marks around how outrageous it is to think of something as something when it isn't that very thing. Yeah, totally outrageous.
Yeah, it's a diversion away from the what he said yesterday, right? I just had a little presentation of what he said about the second law of thermodynamics. Those train wrecks, this is just a diversion away from that.
Exactly. Outrage at some seeming slight. Well, unfortunately, that seeming slight is directly attached to a quote about something that's been made up by you ball-believing zealots. Gravity, this force that's not a force, but you can think of as a force, right? Outrageous. Total doublespeak nonsense. That's what we have to deal with on a daily basis. And when it's applied to you, you're outraged.
Yeah.
Nathan, slander is a thing. Slander is a thing.
Oh,
better be careful.
Slander.
It is.
Stupid is a thing.
Brenda,
It's a real thing in the UK, so you better be careful.
So it's stupid.
Oh, really? So tell me, Brenda, given that Anthony's very well educated in law, what your experience in the UK?
Not. He's a complete
sorry,
imbecile.
Brenda, you seem to be interrupting me mid-sentence. Yeah, Anthony is very much educated in law. It's including slander.
No, it's not.
So
He's
I'm
an
asking you,
imbecile.
Brenda, you've done it again. That's the second time. I know you
I
don't
don't
like
care.
hearing this. It's okay. Keep getting triggered, love. Right, Brenda. Anthony's educated in law, including slander. So, given that that's the case, I'd like to know what your basis of experience in that assertion regards Anthony's remarks, and I'll repeat them. So, Anthony has stated quite clearly that Conspiracy Cat's, a fictitious character on YouTube, is not a paedophile. But you can think of him as a paedophile. Paraphrasing what George Musa said about gravity. Now, I'd like to know what your experience, specifically, in UK slander law is. Go.
She doesn't realise she's been muted.
Who muted her? Why are people muting her?
I muted her, just so that you could get your sentence out.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. Oh, piss off. If you're going to play victim, you can just fuck off, Brenda. Get out. Sit there playing possum. Oh, I'm so abused for having been muted while I talked over every word you said for the last 5 minutes. You piss off. Get out. You've got no experience in UK law. You don't know what you're talking about when it comes to UK slander law. He's not slandered him. He's just used an example. It's as simple as that. Dick.
Yeah, and she needs to be institutionalized. This was a train wreck, making shit up the whole time she was here about what somebody else said. This is a joke. This is typical baltard. She is a typical baltard.
Well, Brenda overdoes the straw manning. Like every time I talked with her, without a single exception, halfway she would go into straw manning things that I said. Every single time. So she's a
Well, what do
neurotic
you
at it.
say to somebody when they say DNA is made of amino acids? What do you say to somebody like that? And then on your show, Arwen, she said mutations in epigenetics are the same.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then she said she didn't say it when she said it 5 seconds earlier. She does this all the time. And then, no, that's not. All she does is arguments. And then when you ask her to support something, just like all baltard spinning space monkeys, what do? Nope, not going to support it. We don't need to support that. We don't need to support our claims. Big clowns. This is a carnival tent clown show. Every single one of them.
I agree with that.
Well, the word
She should have
fictitious
been kicked a
never
long time.
came up. The word fictitious never came up in the Musser interview, but magic and magical did.
Yeah, but she just made it up then. She just lied. And then said it wasn't important to support a misquote. She just made it up. He didn't say it.
Right.
She made it up.
Right. And that wasn't the important part wasn't, the fictitious part. I just wanted to hear him say it because it's a train wreck anyway. But I know he didn't say it. I listened to the interview a number of times. But it's just for, a point of confirmation that she's just making shit up.
Can I present something? Got a minute?
No,
I mean, does she feel like that's going to be
You're on, Ranty.
Does she feel like that's going to be something that she can present to the ballers or something? I mean, I couldn't present the claim that I was saying. I watched this video that I'm on Nathan Oakley's channel, check it out. Like, what the fuck?
How do you feel sorry for him?
Right. Like,
how do you have
how's she
sympathy
doing
for
anyone
somebody?
good?
Echo.
That was just terrible. That was god off.
She got stuck on mute and then by Ranty, then listened to a conversation with a question being asked to her directly, it being pointed out, a minute elapsed easily, and she just sat on mute. Presumably so she could come off and fucking bleat. Victim. It's like, piss off, I'm tired of it. You're going to talk over everybody and then presumably come back and play victim when you've been put on mute by Ranty. Just sod off, I'm tired of her.
She's totally social justice warrior trained. Serious. Not a surprise,
If Mueller, if Musser said fictitious, that would be fantastic. I would love for him to have said that.
He didn't. I checked the transcript whilst you were debating it. So I opened it up and I searched for the word fictitious. It wasn't in there at all.
Dealing with liars. That's the bottom line here. It really riles me up when somebody comes on and does it to me. So we had Dawn yesterday do it. Just made something up that I hadn't said. And then Wiggles the same. Just make shit up and claim I've said it. You're like, who the hell do these people think they are?
Well, I think that she might have confused the guy we were talking about with Rumpus, because Rumpus has been saying it is a fictitious force.
So what?
So
let me get it straight. So let's just get it straight.
It is a
So let's just get it straight. I start accusing her of murdering people and chopping their heads off, and they go, "My bad. I was confusing her with Jeffrey Dahmer." It's just my mistake.
Unbelievable.
She was being careless. Look, it's just a telltale telling that she would just literally mistake the two people in a conversation.
Yeah,
She
I've
didn't-
accidentally.
Really onto
Yeah.
some kind of drug or
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals to do
Yeah,
that.
I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube. I watch her on YouTube. I've watched an interview with him, and I got the two confused. I mistook her for a mass murderer. What do you want? My bad. Yeah, that's reasonable. My bad.
She referenced Musser. She didn't
All right.
mistake.
Yeah, enough about her. What about what Conspiracy Cat said? Any comment on that, people?
Yeah, I have. Something slightly different, but still to do with conspiracy cats. Am I presenting, Dave?
I had
You are. You're on.
Right. So, conspiracy cats isn't clever, but you can think of him as clever if you want to. And I'm going to show you how unclever he actually is. So, basically, this guy from Flat Earther put a couple of videos out, and Conspiracy Cats jumps all over it, as he always does. And this is on his Baldy Cats channel. And he's saying that the only reason, there's two images, obviously this is from a lower elevation, this particular image, and the next image is with the horizon higher up above this mast. Now, Conspiracy Cats has said that the only way that this can happen is if he has tilted his camera down, and that is why the horizon now appears higher than the mast, right? I kid you not, that's his actual response. So I knew straight away it was all just bunkum. So I went and did a little video, a test on that. So here we have North Pier, and I'm filming it from essentially about 3 miles away. And you can pick your spot, whichever piece of spot you want to look out of these buildings in the foreground with the horizon in the distance. And I'm just going to play the video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and I'm going to go down. And you tell me if you see any kind of deviation between the particular thing that you're looking at. There we go. After that. So there's me raising the camera up. And here's me lowering the camera down. Is that horizon changing in relation to any of those buildings?
Well, yeah, you're going to get a certain amount of parallax, aren't you?
No.
No, it looks pretty much exactly the same.
Well,
Yeah, you're not getting any parallax whatsoever. The only time that it would make a difference, I mean this genuinely, is if you was about a foot away from it. But when you're talking about something that's half a mile away, 2 miles away, your little tilt of the camera isn't going to make an iota of difference.
No, fair enough. I agree.
And this video just proves that. So Conspiracy Cats, in trying to debunk him, says that the only reason he was able to get the horizon higher than the tower was because he lowered the camera and tilted it down. And obviously, I just pan across and I repeat the same thing here. This is quite a good one actually, because you can see that there actually is no relative change to any of it. Doesn't matter which way you look at it. So Conspiracy Cat's busted again. You can think of him as being smart. What is it? No, he thinks he's smart. No, he isn't smart, but you can think of him as being smart.
Yeah, nice demo. I like it, Ranty. Very good. Nice to just have a visual representation of what somebody's describing and then have it being showed to be complete bunk. And yeah, good job. Thanks, Ranty. As for Quantum Eraser, yeah, I like it when you go through these things with a fine-tooth comb and, you know, destroy every single point with references. You know, what's not to like.
Yeah, it was, yeah, but this is different. See, your average globetard couldn't tie his shoes, you know, with a fleet of slobber nurses, but this is different because Conspiracy Cats, he's a teacher of science. He teaches this to kids, right? He himself couldn't pass intro to physics with these two statements. Anything on this? Do I need to go over this again?
Now I'm going to trim it out.
It was even hard for me to write this. I was almost speechless at his comments. I don't know.
Yeah, he's exposing himself for how stupid he actually is. The more he gets involved in this debate and the more he starts to talk, you know, from his original videos that he's first put out, now that he's actually entering into the debate as such, he's proving his ignorance, really.
When the law of logic is violated, contradictions are everywhere. And that's all these people do is contradict themselves.
Right.
Well, that was an interesting after show with Brenda coming in.
Drives me mad.
Yeah, I don't think she should come ever again in. She's not worth it. She is not worth it.
No.
She's a liar. and that just drives me mad. You know, to overtly lie and then just go, oh, it's not important. It's like she's a cheating, lying scumbag. She goes around deleting people's files, making up shit about people they haven't said, lying. You know, she's a scumbag.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty much.
She tried to take the narrative away. She tried to take the narrative and get people to say things that they didn't want to say and misrepresent them and turn it into victim status for conspiracy cats. When all we were doing, we were just talking about what Tony had done and how it was in relation to George Musa. You know,
she came on with an agenda to set up a copyright strike that she wants to put on this show. She's got an agenda. So she brings up the subject and the words out of context from what Anthony did, out of context from what we've ever said, and she implies a defamation of some kind. But she did it.
Yeah,
that's very clever. That's very clever, actually.
Yeah, that's how she sets up her victim status. It's not exactly a clever trick.
No, I mean,
she's a weasel through and through, and she's always being a weasel, and her actions are generally weaselly. So, yeah.
I say ban her from now on.
All are welcome.
Well, you know that she'll probably try and jump on the show tomorrow to continue this.
That's fine by me.
Yeah, no, I'm just forewarning you.
It's interesting for a little bit to watch how she tries to deny and you know, just obfuscate, but after like a couple minutes you're just like, man, okay, you're just insane, you're just repeating.
Yeah, she'll make a statement, you'll try and address it halfway through, she'll repeat the statement again halfway through your sentence. When you try and interrupt her while you're telling her not to interrupt, she'll repeat her statement again. You know, just a total bitch. Let's just change the subject slightly. So, Anthony is on fire at the moment. Would we not all agree?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he started a chain reaction, man.
Oh, yeah, he did. Love it.
Well, to be fair, it's the first I've heard of it, about this paedophile thing. Did Conspiracy Cats actually challenged him to a fight or something?
I don't know. All I know is, whatever the reaction, it's a reaction. And that is epic. He's played Cats absolutely beautifully. So it tells me that straight away, Anthony is far more intelligent than Conspiracy Cats.
Yes.
When I was I was watching it and I heard him say, I knew it was coming with I was like, he's not going to say this on a video. I was a little like, man, you're great. But then he said it and I'm like, man, that's a real point he's making. And then when I hear that he, you know, got all upset, I'm like, but you're not a force. I mean, a pedophile. So what do you care? And it just, yeah, it was beautiful.
Yep.
He definitely took a risk and it definitely paid off.
Well, the point, at the end of the day, the point is words have meaning.
Right.
And you can't straight up lie to us, to our faces, and tell us that something is something when it's not anything. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
if you were to lie to me in my face like that, I'd punch you in the mouth. So how are we acting like this to people in real life? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
All he did was use their same argument against them, and they didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly. But to not spot that and react in basically the exact way Anthony wants him to react, it's like, you're not that smart. You know, to have not spotted that, not a mile off, because it was, you know, it was well laid by Anthony, but by the same token, you know, you think you'd spot that if it was directed at you. And in the context, because it's not like Anthony didn't frame it in that context to make it clear that he's using it to drag out the point. I just don't get why he's reacted. I mean, it's brilliant. I'm grateful. I'm sure we'll get some great quotes out of it.
If we use this with gravity instead of Conspiracy Cats, it would go something like this, I would think. Wait a minute, I am a force. No, you're not a force. No, but I am a force.
Well, I thought it was good when I said about Brenda. I said, well, you know, you're not a lady, but you can think of yourself as a lady. And she does. Or he does. Or whoever. Whatever he is. But yeah, it's the same analogy. Except she actually fully accepts that. She agrees with that.
Yep. But it's not the same thing. Not the same thing.
Exactly the same thing. But no matter how hard she acts like a woman and thinks she's a woman, she isn't a woman.
Well, she admitted to that a long time ago when she said, "Oh, I know it's mental."
Yeah, but 2 breaths later, she said it is a force.
And she said, I misspoke.
But my question is, how long has she been coming in here arguing that gravity is a force? So all of a sudden now the tables have turned and now she has to change her story up.
Yeah.
How it works.
Well, their story's
Isn't that cute?
Well, people
Scientists
like
have to adapt to the narrative.
people like the Rumpus are going to be aware that the old style gravity, the Cavendish Reverend John Mitchell gravity, is not what's currently punted. However,
Who'd you say? Wait a second. Who'd you say?
the Rumpus.
Oh, Mr. Air is not the atmosphere.
Yeah,
The rumpus.
My point.
Okay.
My point being that he will know the current narrative reasonably well, but part of the narrative is to, as we all know, still employ it as a force. It's needed as a force. It's many an argument that we have that has, oh, gravity is the answer, right? So he will understand that at a fundamental level, but he just hasn't revealed that particular aspect when you're talking about a force all day long, as he does. Well, now things get a little bit more complicated. They've got to engage in the actual art of doublespeak with the people that would have to argue this point with us. And most of them will fail completely from the outset. You'll get people like Dornan that don't even understand how to formulate a straw man argument that they've given him.
So did Tony come out with this on a video?
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday, late yesterday.
Gone on a rampage. So, I mean, I've kind of disassociated myself with Globebusters because, you know, why bother getting into arguments and, you know, if you can avoid it, just avoid it. However, you know, you watch one of Anthony's video and you hear the kind of stuff that they're spewing about us and you go, oh, wow, that's not very nice. Hashtag same team. You know, it just seems like they're continually reacting badly when we point out that they're incorrect about something. And from our point of view, we stick to the subject and say, you know, this isn't science, you haven't got any independent variable, or what does Anthony say, you can't wiggle it. And their reaction is, you're scientifically illiterate fundies, or you're all morons, or something. It's like, why is it all getting so personal from their side? You like, I don't know. I don't find it funny particularly. I just think, aren't we on the same side?
No.
I don't know. I don't remember anybody saying they can prove the spin of the Earth.
I'm missing the joke. Why is everyone laughing?
Come on, man.
I
What's
don't get
going
it.
on? I love it.
I don't get it. What am I missing?
Yeah. Hashtag same team.
I don't know what I'm missing.
Hashtag same team got him.
Oh, hashtag same team. Yeah, I do say that in irony. I'm not serious.
You should put up a new icon instead of the coffee cup. Have a sign. Hashtag same team.
Hashtag MIFA. You know, make Earth flat again.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is egos and biases. I mean, come on. The scientific method is the scientific method. And the only reason they got their shorts all dandered up is because they got caught.
Yeah, we're not on a team. We're not like flat earthers. We're not a cult. We're not like, you know, we don't have these set of beliefs that we all adhere to. And no matter what evidence is presented, we're just going to continue believing. Like, and that's part of what the plan is. They label us flat earthers. They label us so they could just put us all in a group. And then if you have any one person in the group that says anything that is retarded or goes against anything, oh, well, Jimmy said that the earth is accelerating upwards. Okay, so what? But he's a flat earther. All right, so what? You know, and then that's another part of the game and the system.
Right, they try to turn us into a political group. That's how that works.
Yeah, man. I don't even like using the term flat earther. Like, yo, I believe, I know what water does. I know what air does. And like, if you're going to try and tell me something else, whatever, but I know the reality of the world. So like, I go from there.
They know the power of consensus. You know, most people are actually sheep and do want to just follow the crowd. So given that that's the case, consensus will always be against us. And if we've got no unity and we're arguing amongst ourselves, that makes us pretty weak as a group.
It depends what your show's all about. If your show's all about truth, it
Exactly. Like, you know, like that's why I picked this show, because I feel like it's the one that, you know, is fair, and it's, you know, it criticizes its own, it stays true to the what's going on, and that's how you have to be. We can't, you know, once you start falling into that, oh, you know, this is what it is, like, yeah, you're no different than a baller.
Really? Do you really feel that way, even with Arwin here?
No, I'm saying no. No,
I'm very clear about what I'm presupposing and what I designate as absolute.
We have
he's got it. He has his moments, but I think for the most part, he's pretty, you know, he's got a grasp of what's going on in the world.
I'm just joking. Arwin's ace. Just kidding.
I will give Arwin that. Yeah, when Arwin's going to presuppose, he usually addresses it with, well, presupposing, you know, he will give a little heads up, like he's about to get into some bullshit, but at least he keeps it real with that.
Get into some bullshit. Yeah, I like that.
I'm actually very meticulous with that. Oh, by the way, Nate, tomorrow I was kind of planning in the evening a night owl show for the our win-a-thon, basically. Could you join?
You're doing a P1000 GoFundMe, you mean?
Yeah, it's already installed, and yeah, hoped that you guys could all join me.
Yeah, man.
Just a nice long
Sphere.
evening hangout.
Do a proper plug, and then I'll round out the after show.
Okay. Well, I haven't actually set a time yet because I wanted to, get some measuring as to what would be a good time for you. But I thought like in between 8 and 10, somewhere.
Something like that.
Tomorrow.
Sounds good to me. There you
Cool.
go. Check out.
And I can, as long as it takes, you know, until we all fall asleep or something.
I don't know if I can dedicate that much time, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
But yeah, check out Arwin's channel tomorrow. So that'll be what time will this be going out? So this will be going out about midnight UK time or 1 a.m. Amsterdam time. So it'll be technically today that this will happen, or in 5 minutes time it'll be today when this is broadcast. So check out Arwin, ARWIJN channel for the, I've forgotten what you call it, Arwin. What do you call it? The late night bird.
No, the Night Owl Show.
Night Owl, that's it, Night Owl Show. So check out the Night Owl Show. There'll be a Arwin-a-thon for his P1000. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun, as all of them are. And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to all of the debating panel that have made this after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!